Welcome. All right. Thank you, Cam. Hello, Facebook Livers.
Yes.
Welcome. This place is so amazing. So I know, Jenneta and I feel so grateful and blessed to be here and be a part of this, just this space. So, hey, welcome. So maybe a few more will be trickling into. So, hey, Olga, how are you? Welcome. So wherever you can, there's a seat over here. So welcome to our Healthy Gut Workshop.
No, this is fine.
Oh, got a seat? All right. Hello. Thanks for coming. We are so excited to have this workshop because the gut is a topic that Jenneta and I are both extremely passionate about. And Jenneta's been interested in this for a long while, and as have I too, honestly. So we thought we'd kind of open it up with, you're here because you clearly have an interest in gut health. So we thought we'd share a little bit about our stories and why we're so passionate about gut health, and then some of the strategies that we've used individually and some that overlap as well, that have really helped us with having a healthy gut, getting our guts back on track, and that have helped a lot of other people that we work with as well. And then Jenneta's going to share some of her magical fermented foods that she creates. And I whipped up a little gut healing tropical green smoothie for you guys today too that we'll sample later. So, so to get started, I have been interested in health and wellness since about 2010. I had been living in New Orleans for about 3 years after college, and I was living the New Orleans life, if you can imagine that. I was taking in and letting the good times roll, and it, over time, after about 3 years or so, really started to impact my health in a not so positive way. So had lots of digestive issues and different skin issues, and a lot of different things were going on with me physically, and I knew there was kind of a deeper root to it, and it was, obviously a lot of the things that we're putting into our body come out of our body or, create a lot of, disease in our body in different ways. So in about 2010, as I was kind of finishing up my time in New Orleans, I got very interested in health and wellness. And at the time, I found a book on macrobiotics. And if you're not familiar with macrobiotics, it's a Japanese-based diet. So, or it's a Japanese kind of philosophy towards health. And so I kind of got interested in experimenting with those foods. And I started eating lots of whole grains and lots of brown rice and seaweeds and legumes and vegetables, and just kind of going more towards like a plant-based diet. And it was just kind of having a lot of fun with this whole new life. I remember when I was in New Orleans before I left, it was the day after Mardi Gras. I woke up feeling terrible and was like, all right, like this is it, I've got to change things. So I went to Whole Foods, I cleaned out my cupboards, and just kind of started over in that way with the health journey. So after leaving New Orleans, I went up to Massachusetts and I worked at a natural healing center up there, and had planned to be there for about a month or so, and ended up being there 4 years, and just kind of delved into the world of cooking and natural health and healing. I worked in the kitchen and in the office and programs in different parts of this community up there, and it really kind of opened my mind to the amazing innate healing power that our body has. And when we remove these sources that are damaging our body, that our body really does the healing. Like, we can't heal you as health coaches, no doctor can heal you, like the body heals itself. All we can do is remove the interference to, what's blocking that state of health in our body. And sometimes that's physical, sometimes it's emotional. So, there's a lot of different things to unpack there. But at the time when I moved up to Massachusetts, I ended up, long story short, I got a severe staph infection and ended up on antibiotics for about 6 months or so. And as we know, if you're interested in gut health, antibiotics, just destroy our gut bacteria. And having been on so many rounds of different spectrums of antibiotics for many months at a time, just totally depleted my gut flora. And that was in 2011, and it's really been, years of rebuilding since then, of trying to balance and diversify my gut flora to have a balanced ecosystem. So it's been a journey. It continues to be a journey for me, and we'll share some of the strategies that we've used to rebuild our health. But I moved back to Pittsburgh. I've been here about 3.5 years, and I work for Revelation Health, and I do coaching there and consulting, and that's where Kim and Mara came to our gut workshop last month, or yeah, I guess that was
August.
Yeah. All right. Yes, it was just the beginning. Oh my gosh, yeah, time flies. So it's been amazing. It's an amazing health journey, and learning all the time, and we don't know everything, but we're excited to share what we do know. Right? Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't.
I like your humility.
Oh, well, it's a journey, but I'm excited to share all this information with you. And I'm a certified health coach and consultant, so I've been studying this for a while, and I'm excited to share. Hi, guys. Yeah. Louder?
Loud,
Okay.
yeah, because the crickets are
Okay.
loud.
If I'm not speaking loud enough, please let me know. So my name is Jenneta Mammedova. I come from Turkmenistan. It's a former Soviet Union republic. So, and I've been in Pittsburgh in the U.S. For the past 12 years. And I'm married to an American who was born and raised in Pittsburgh. And we have 2 children. Layla is 11 and Milo is 7. We reside in the north side, and I've been into gut health and natural medicine, natural nutrition and everything since my son was born, and before I was interested but not in gut health. And into gut health I really got into when my son was born and I got sick and he got sick. So about in 2009, I will share a brief story. I had to take an antibiotic, and I come from the former Soviet Union. So in the former Soviet Union, all of us are given TB shots. And when I was tested for TB in 2009, my test came out positive. So they put me on an antibiotic for 4 months. And that antibiotic, you know, as you know, it kills the good and the bad as well, and so it killed the bad and the good, and it completely wrecked my health. Within 2 months, I ended up gaining 15 to 20 pounds without changing my diet, without changing my exercise routine. I started turning into mania, I would say. Like, it really affected my personality as well. So by the end of my 4th month treatment, I saw changes in my personality. Like, I started avoiding people, and I'm a very social person, and I lost interest in spending time with people, and also I developed anger issues and major mood swings, and on top of that, skin issues and cavities, you name it, you know, and low-grade depression. And I had no idea that was all linked to my gut, that the fact that my gut flora was wiped out was affecting my brain function as well. Well, after I was done with my antibiotic, I sought out my naturopathic doctor, and she helped me to regain my health back. Within 3 months, I started feeling like myself, but then I got pregnant with my 2nd child. And I had to stop all the treatment because it was some herbal remedies, some nutritional supplements. And I just continued with eating healthy throughout the pregnancy. The pregnancy was pretty low-key, you know, just morning sickness here and there. And so Milo was born. And when Milo was born, he was announced to be a healthy boy. And I'm like, yay, great, the baby's out. I don't have to worry about what I eat. And I went back to eating, you know, just regular foods, not watching what I was eating. I had no idea that once you develop the condition I had, where it was a severe yeast overgrowth, and that you had to watch your diet for the rest of your life, because you have to keep it under control by, you know, by what you eat and by the probiotic foods. So Milo was born, I didn't watch. Within 6 weeks, my symptoms started creeping back in on top of what I was dealing with. Depression settled in, chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety, memory loss, really personality disorder that some people thought I was bipolar, and it's really, you know, it made me upset when I heard that, but I couldn't help it. And on top of that, I started seeing problems with my son. So he started exhibiting signs of food allergies. So he had eczema on his face, rashes on his body. He had blood in his stool, green frothy stools, and I had no idea that it was related to the gut. And I felt like someone just changed my child within a month. From, you know, he was a great sleeper at the beginning. He was nursed only every 2-3 hours and just easy to handle. And then within a month, he turned into this impossible to deal with a child. Irritable, wouldn't sleep, nurse every hour. Just, it's like, what happened? And I didn't know that what I was eating was actually leaking through my system because I had a leaky gut. If you're familiar with a leaky gut, when you have the lack of good bacteria, it causes pores in your intestines. And everything you eat goes into your bloodstream and causes havoc for your immune system. Your immune system is going crazy because food particles are not supposed to be in your bloodstream. So that was happening to me. And since, Milo was getting the proteins into his blood that weren't digested in my gut. And that was causing the immune issues in his body as well. The older he was getting, I started, around 2 months, I started bringing this up to his pediatrician, and the pediatrician would shake it off saying, you're just a worried mother, don't worry about it. I'm like, no. I have one child who wasn't like this. Help me. And he wouldn't help me. He just kept saying, it's fine, they're babies. And I'm like, no, you're not right. So I didn't listen to him, went on my own quest to find out how to help this child, and found out that dairy could be a culprit for his green fatty stools and blood in his stool. They removed dairy within 3 days. They cleared up. And then a month later, his insides were improving. And I was like, hold on a second. There is something to it deeper than I think. So I started, around that time, the more questions I had, the answers started coming into my life. It was like a divinely guided path. And I started to see it like people start friending me who would talk about gut health and gut healing. I was like, what is this? This is, and they would describe the symptoms that my son and I had, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I'm dealing with. Then body ecology book came into our life as well, and later on I found out that I had to get off of gluten and refined sugar as well, and then I went back to my naturopath for me, and then found a doctor for my son, because on top of the issues I described, he also started showing signs of SPD, is sensitive processing disorder, when the child is really sensitive to touch, light, and sound. So he hated the blanket on himself, he hated to touch certain textures he wasn't used to. The water in the bath had to be a certain temperature for him to be comfortable in there. I'm just describing this, so if you know anybody who are struggling with children have this, so you tell, you should look into that. And then I found a doctor for him when he was around 2 years old, and the doctor ran a very extensive test that required getting 17 tubes of blood out of this child. There was only 2. I was on my knees crying when my husband and my daughter were comforting him. 4 people were like holding him down. And it was really hard as a mother, but it was the beginning of finding out the answer, what was really wrong with him. And after they ran the test, a month later, I found out that on top of the issues I have seen in him, he also had heavy metal toxicity, nutritional deficiencies, hypotonia. Hypotonia is low muscle tone, where it kind of can be described as a child's fatigue, where he always seemed lethargic and not interested in activities, in physical activities, and he was behind his peers. Like, he couldn't walk as well, he couldn't run as well, he couldn't climb the stairs as well. And I found out why it was happening within his body, and they also diagnosed multiple food allergies, not only one. So basically the doctor said that, and throughout that time, closer to 2, I had already implemented the body ecology diet, introduced cultured foods into his diet. So he was doing better, but I hit the wall where I was like, I need professional help. I cannot go on with the diet on my own, because as long as he stayed on the diet, he was fine. But as soon as he would eat something, he would get sick again. So I knew that this was the answer, but not a complete answer. So when I found the doctor said that according to his blood test result, that Milo had a biological profile of an autistic child, but he didn't have autism.
Well, he showed signs of, the spectrum, like he was not interested in other children, which really worried us as parents. He avoided any contact with people, like except me and his dad and his sister. He also seemed very scared of people, and he would sit in the corner and just watch the kids play versus just joining in, whereas Layla was not like that. So that really worried us, and then what the doctor said basically made sense. And then we continued with the diet, and we started him on supplements, and I on the at the same time found out later on I was dealing with the same issues, heavy metal toxicity, nutritional deficiencies, and food sensitivities to over 30 foods, and I continued with my naturopathic doctor. And so, things start getting better and better, and then 4 years later, after, I felt strong enough and I saw the benefits, the healing benefits of the fermented foods, the idea to open up the company that's called Prescription Food came to our minds, and then I embarked on that path. Well, Milo is a 7-year-old boy now. He is a completely normal child. We have introduced a lot of foods he couldn't eat before because his gut has healed to the point that he can have the allergens that we had to avoid. He's in a normal school. You would never tell that there's something wrong with him or like there's something different about him. The only thing is like his plate will be different. Instead of having fish crackers, he'll be having carrot sticks, or instead of having chips, he'll be having seaweed. Like his diet is completely different than a 7-year-old child, and he's used to it. He's grown up like that, and but overall, he's like the same kid. Like he's caught up. We had to introduce physical therapy and cranial sacral therapy on top of everything, the diet and supplements, and he's caught up with his peers. He's not, delayed in his development. And as I go, like I got rid of my depression, anxiety, memory loss. My husband is not happy about that part because I remember everything. He's like, I like the part when you didn't remember. Now it's like, on August 13th at 2 p.m. you said this. So, my brain function is back because I have healed my gut to the point that I can function, and I back to exercising the way I used to. I got rid of the excess weight that I couldn't get rid of because when you have the inflammation of the gut going on, your body holds on the water, and all those toxins, get protected by the fat cells. But when I started toxifying and healing my gut, it all went away. And so my healing and my son's healing inspired me to start this journey of sharing my knowledge and really getting people to be aware of the importance of the gut health and the relationship of the gut health has to the brain health. And this is my story, so it's as brief as I could have told you. And so I'm very happy that you're here and you are interested in learning more about gut health because it's really important. And the brain function I have at the age of 37 is better than I had at the age of 17. Even the physical capacity I have to exercise or to do whatever, yoga, like, seeing the improvement motivates me to go on the path I have been so far.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story. Yay. Yeah. Beautiful testimony. Yeah. Well, and I think now we can kind of share and dig into a little bit of some of the strategies that we've used to get our gut back on track. So for me, I kind of like to break it down in 3 ways when I talk about gut health and healing. And the first is diet, and then I dig into fasting, and then I talk about a concept called diet variation. So the first one's kind of a no-brainer, right? Diet. And it's become complicated because, as we know, there is no one perfect diet for everyone. Sometimes, the paleo people say that's the best, and the vegans say that's the best, and the raw foodists say that's the best, and we're bombarded constantly, right? With this is what I should be eating, and this is how I should be eating it, and this is the amount I should be eating it, and it's overwhelming. And I too get confused, you know, when there's such an onslaught of different information all the time, and new studies and research coming out all the time too. And what I've just learned is that I think our microbiome in our gut is so much more complex than we can even understand at all. And we are so unique individually as far as what is going to nourish us physically and emotionally too, right, in so many different ways. So I think that we have to find the right diet that works for us, but there are, you know, kind of core tenets too of things that none of us should be having that we know. So, and one of those is sugar, right? We all know that white sugar is delicious. It is delicious, but it does not do our body any favors. You know, when we even think about like a sugar cane, for instance, right? If we've ever seen them, they're like what, 20 feet long or something. Like they're big plants, and maybe if we just like chewed on a little sugar cane once in a while, that wouldn't be so bad. But we've condensed it, and we buy it in pounds, and these like tiny little sugar molecules, and consume it in mass amounts. I think the average for Americans is that we consume like 150 pounds of sugar every year or something each. It's insane. So, so sugar, you know, causes problems for many reasons, but the biggest reason is that it creates a lot of inflammation in the body. And inflammation, as we know, is the root of many diseases, and it creates a lot of cellular dysfunction. So clearing out refined sugar from our diet is going to be really important, I think, for every single person. The other core component with diet is removing toxic fats. So it's unfortunate, but pretty much every time we go to a restaurant, if we're getting something that's been fried or cooked in oil, they're using genetically modified either corn oil or soybean oil or some kind of blend of vegetable oils that once again creates and promotes inflammation in our body. You know, toxic fats and sugars are the biggest, the most important things that I think all of us should be removing from our diet today. Now, of course, I suggest that if we can eat a 100% organic diet, that's ideal. But this is life too. I don't eat a 100% organic diet. I mean, I like to, and that's what I buy, but I go to restaurants and I travel, and we have to live. So I think we need a perspective that we have to do the best that we can, especially in terms of organic with animal proteins. I think that is something very important, and I try to not eat a lot of animal protein if it's not organic because of the hormones and antibiotics that those animals consume, right? We are what we eat. So when we're eating animals that are loaded with, you know, antibiotics and just all of these different unnatural substances in their bodies, they go into our bodies, right? Yep. And then they wreak havoc in our bodies, like, what's going on? And, you know, then dysfunction kind of follows after that. So eating as organic as possible, eating as many plants as possible, too. I think eating a wide variety of plants is just going to be helpful for everybody. Clean meats and proteins, and a lot of healthy fats too, right? You know, fat is our friend, but not all fats are created equal, right? So those, you know, toxic vegetable oils that are genetically modified that our bodies don't recognize as food, like genetically modified corn oil and soybean oil and those different vegetable oil blends, our bodies don't recognize those as food, and they actually wreak major havoc on our intestinal lining and can promote issues like leaky gut, wherein the tight junctions of our intestinal lining aren't functioning properly and things are leaking out into our system, creating systemic inflammation and all different types of health challenges. There's just such a cascade of issues that occur. So as far as diet goes, I'd say wipe out the refined sugar and the toxic fats and eat tons of plants and a wide variety of clean proteins and good fats, but also tuning into what works for your body too. Some people do okay with some soaked and sprouted grains, like some quinoa, some amaranth, even some glutinous grains. Some people, if they're tolerated well, if they're prepared in the right way. Others need to completely eliminate grains for a while until they can get some inflammation down in their body, and then they can possibly slowly add them back in moderate amounts. So I think that's really important too when it comes to grains. Otherwise, maybe just try some starchy vegetables like squash and beets and carrots and plantains and sweet potatoes and white potatoes, and those can be healthy forms of starch that can be better assimilated for some people than a lot of grains. A lot of Americans, if we just look at the American diet, right, it's cereal for breakfast and a sandwich for lunch and pasta for dinner, right? See, it's like, how many of us know people who eat like that, right? And zero judgment, it's just lack of education. right? And we're told that, you know, our government tells us to eat, you know, a low-fat diet with tons of healthy whole grains. Right, when for so many people, but then we look at the state of our health in this country, right? So clearly something's amiss, and we need to take a step and really think about what we're putting into our body. So diet is clearly number one, and kind of cleaning up the diet for gut health. And I was going to dive into bringing in fermented foods in our diet too, which bring in some unique bacteria to really help increase our gut health. The second strategy, though, I employ, and is the most powerful gut healing strategy, I believe, in the world, and it's fasting. Okay, so many people
in any healing,
amen. And today there's such misunderstanding and misconceptions, and just a lot of just uncertainty around fasting and fear around fasting. But let's think about the beginning of time, right? People fasted from the beginning of time. They just didn't have food to eat. You know, now we're surrounded by food 24/7. Like right now, we could just go out and immediately like stuff our faces all day. That's why people can be 800 pounds too, right? Because we can eat constantly in our culture. And the problem is that every time that we eat, it spikes our blood sugar. Even if it's like some protein or something like that, our blood sugar still spikes. And every time we spike our blood sugar, we can create an inflammation response in our body, and it accelerates aging. Something called advanced glycation end products can occur when we're eating all day, when we're spiking our blood sugar all the time, and it's just creating a negative hormonal response from our body, and then we wonder why we can't lose weight while we're eating all day, right? I mean, I saw a study recently too. It said that Americans eat on average 18 times per day. But that's not including, people don't remember, oh, I had that handful of nuts when I was at my desk, or I had like a little piece of candy when I was at the bank, or oh, I had that half a glass of kombucha. Like everything we consume counts, other than water. So I think have to be really mindful of everything that we're consuming throughout the day. But fasting is the most powerful way to decrease inflammation in the body, and it's the fastest way to do that. And there's no faster way to heal a gut than to fast. So, and fasting can come in different forms, and there's, you know, we could do a whole workshop on fasting. It's so much, but to keep it simple, you can either do something called intermittent fasting, where you're just eating within a compressed time window, or maybe you're just having lunch and dinner, so you're just having 2 meals, or even just 1 meal a day once in a while, where you're just maybe having a 3 p.m. large meal, and the rest of the time you're giving your body to fast, because when we're not eating, our body can rechannel that energy into healing. And then we can really just, our bodies can then just utilize that energy that they would have put towards digesting food to healing. Because eating is a very energy-consuming activity for our body. It's actually, I think, the most energy-needing activity. That our body actually undergoes. So oh, you need a seat? There's a chair over there too. Yep, come on in. So when we're fasting for periods, either intermittently through the day, where we're kind of giving our body, you know, a window where maybe just eating between noon and 6 p.m. every day, you know, we're getting that, you know, however many hours that is, I don't know, what is that, 18-hour time window or so, to for our body to fast. 16 hours. Intermittent fasting, right?
16 to 18.
16 to 18 hours is great. So for some of the sicker and more challenged clients I work with, I definitely recommend something called a block fast, wherein you're not eating for between 3 and 10, 14, sometimes even more days. Like some people I've known have done like 30-day fasts at a time.
It's so hard.
Yes. It's intense. The longest I've done was about 5 days or so, where I didn't have any food. And I just did one, I don't know, a few months ago too. I did a 4-day. But you have to work up to this too. A lot of Americans, you know, we're sugar burners. So that means our bodies are relying on, you know, carbohydrates for fuel, because that's what we're used to. We're eating all day, so our body needs that glucose for fuel. But we can shift the source of cellular energy from relying on glucose for fuel to relying on our own body fat for fuel. And it is so freeing when you can go for hours and hours and hours and not eat, because your brain function like skyrockets, your energy skyrockets. I know when I've been fasting, I look like I've never had more energy, or possibly even emotional joy, because you start to cleanse all these physical and emotional toxins when you're fasting. And you know, there's a spiritual component to fasting as well that I find really valuable. But it's a very, very powerful way to heal the gut, because we're giving our gut a break and we're letting, that energy go other places in our body where, healing needs to occur. So that's the second key strategy for gut healing. And my third, we like to call it diet variation. And this is a really unique concept. And I credit Dr. Pampa, if you're watching from Revelation Health, he came up with this concept. And the idea is that if we're eating the same foods all the time, we're not really doing our body any favors. Because when we're eating different foods and challenging our body in different ways with different foods, and also with periods of fasting, we're promoting something called cellular adaptation. So you guys are probably familiar with kind of the idea of just kind of the concept that we need to push ourselves to get results, like we do in the gym, right? If we're doing the same exercise all the time, we're just going to quit getting results after a while, right? Well, that's actually the same with diet as well. And many people eat the same, foods day in and day out, and then wonder why they quit getting results. Well, they're not promoting cellular adaptation by pushing a little bit of healthy cellular stress on the body by eating different foods and eating in different time windows. So each day, like maybe I'll have breakfast, maybe like 2 times a week, but other times I'll wait and not eat till 2 o'clock, or maybe sometimes I just won't even eat till 6 p.m. But some days maybe I'll wake up and I'll have a breakfast at 9:30 a.m. I like to keep my body guessing. So we want to be kind of employing this kind of strategy with when we're eating, and really I listen to my hunger. Some days I'm not hungry till 3 o'clock. Other days I wake up and I'm like, it's 10 a.m. and I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat. So I'm not going to deprive myself of that. But when you've kind of shifted your body over from relying on carbohydrates for fuel to relying on your own body fat for fuel, you can really tune into your intuition as to when you're hungry and trust that. And then kind of go to those foods that intuitively feel right. So whether that's kale for breakfast and an omelet for dinner, or whatever kind of variation of foods works for you. And we definitely want to be eating seasonally as well, because that helps to feed our microbiome too. So that variation of the foods we're eating and the timing that we're eating is a concept called diet variation that you can play around with, and it's really amazing because it looks different for everybody. What works for me may not work for you, and gender comes into play, age comes into play, where we live and our ancestry, all of these different things come into play. So we really need to kind of have perspective on what's going to work for our unique body and tuning into that. So those are my 3 concepts.
Passing it to me? Okay.
Yep.
I am going to talk about she talked about the diet already, so you guys kind of have an idea what to eat, what not to eat. I'm going to talk about the importance of including fermented foods into your diet when you're going to heal your gut. And I'm going to talk about the benefits of the fermented foods, so your mind can be on the same page when it comes to your body wanting them as well, because if you convince your mind that it's good for you, your body will follow, and your body will actually enjoy these foods. And I tell people that fermented foods are not something you're gonna, fall in love with. Some people do; they fall in love with it, in an instant. But some people, they have to spend some time introducing them into their diet to develop a taste to them. Because, and I say, it's not a piece of cake; it's not gonna give you high. It's not going to make you happy and jolly. It will. Eventually
Your
it
coconut
does.
makes me very happy.
It makes me happy as well. Eventually it will. Like I look at the cake, a regular cake, and I don't want to eat it because I know how it's going to affect my body. I look at yogurt, I want to have it because I know how it's going to affect my body. So we have to have the knowledge to really want to do the good that our body needs. And so it actually eventually, and I will tell you that the gut health is really important, number one, because 80% of our immunity resides in the gut. And so if you have the right amount of good bacteria in your gut, that's what keeps you healthy, that's what keeps you strong and not get flu and cold during winter time. And 80% of serotonin is a feel-good hormone. It's a hormone that is in charge of making us feel good emotionally, actually is produced in the gut. So people who have gut imbalance end up developing depression because they have serotonin deficiency. So when you heal your gut, that serotonin deficiency goes away and you naturally feel happy. You don't rely on sugar to feel happy. You don't rely on alcohol to relax you. You don't rely on some kind, on pizza to get through the day because that's what makes you feel good emotionally. You actually have this steady release of serotonin that keeps you even when it comes to mood. That's what happened to me. I developed serotonin deficiency, and that messed up my brain, and that's why I felt depressed. But once that has healed, I'm happy natural. I don't need a substance to make me feel happy about my life, to make me feel excited about my life. I'm naturally excited and happy. I feel like I'm a child again. Like everything excites me. I'm like, yeah. My daughter, who's 11, she goes, I want to be like my mom. She gets excited over little things, So what it's really important, and our gut health is also really important in regards to that our gut feeds every organ in our body. So health of each organ you have actually is dependent on the state of your gut health. So if you're having a liver problem, heal your gut. If you're having a brain problem, heal your gut. If you're having a joint problem, heal your gut. Because the inflammation in your gut fires up all those weak cells that you inherited from your parents. It attacks those weak cells. And they say, oh, my mom had a heart attack, it's genetic. Hell no, you can change your genetics. You can change your health by what you eat, by the lifestyle you lead. You don't have to be in the mercy of your parents' health history. You don't have to do that. Everything is in your power. It's in your hands. You can do it, but you have to make up your mind. Once you convince your mind, you're there. So about the benefits of the fermented foods, there are a number of them. I'm gonna quickly go through them. And another thing I want to mention that our gut bacteria actually weigh 2-3 pounds. So when you start eating fermented food, you start gaining weight. Don't worry about it. I'm just kidding. And you should experience the opposite. You should start losing weight if you have excess weight. And if you have a trouble gaining weight, you will start gaining weight to become to a normal weight, because then the nutrients will start actually being absorbed normally. You will start digesting the food you're eating. Actually, it will start feeding your body. If your gut is unhealthy, no matter how expensive, how good quality the food is, if it's not digesting properly, you're just having expensive tea or expensive food. Like it's not helping, it's not working, it's not doing the good. You have to heal the gut. And as Meredith said, diet comes first. It's the foundation. That's where you start. Then comes in, like when you do the diet, you remove the foods that cause offensive foods that cause the issues. And number one is refined sugar, gluten, and pasteurized commercial dairy. Stay away from it. It makes you sick. But I cannot tolerate dairy. My daughter can tolerate dairy. So I buy, if she wants cheese, I buy high quality, grass-fed, farm-raised dairy. Like I want to feed my child the best foods because her health, her happiness, it dictates the way I'm going to feel emotionally as well. So the fermented foods, number one benefit is they improve the digestion of the foods you eat along with them. So if you're having a trouble with digesting your meat, if you eat that meat with a few tablespoons of sauerkraut, the good bacteria in the sauerkraut will go and break down the proteins and make it easy for your body to absorb. Or if you like to have a little bit of sweet things here and there, if you, eat something or drink something fermented with it, the good bacteria take care of the excess sugar in that food, and then it doesn't become food for the bad bacteria. It actually, gets eaten up by the good bacteria, and then you get some of the benefit. Like for example, my son and I couldn't have any fruits for years, and when we could have, we had it always with coconut water. It's fermented. Again, it was green apple, the most sour green apple we could find, but the sugar in it still affected us. So it was that bad, and so we would take a shot of kefir, which is coconut water fermented, and eat it with an apple. So we could get the nutrients from the apple, but we didn't feed the yeast that was causing all those issues in us. Number two, they supply, since they are raw and they're full of enzymes, they supply your body with, extra enzymes that your body needs to function properly. And your body always has a reserve of enzymes that it uses to rejuvenate the cells, to really, give you a long, healthy life. So if you consume fermented foods, they have them in bigger quantity, the enzymes, than if you would eat just raw foods, because every time when you ferment the food, any nutrient that this food has, let's say cabbage has, it doubles or triples, it multiplies in its amount. That's what fermentation does. They also control the cravings. If you have sugar cravings and if you crave carbs, if you start including fermented foods into your diet, they take them away. When I had to get off of sugar, I was depressed for about 6 months, because then I realized, oh my goodness, this thing was a crack for me, like it made me feel high. So when I removed it, I felt depressed, and I would have sugar cravings, because the yeast, the bad bacteria within me, were trying to survive and were, screaming for food, and that's what it feeds off, and then it causes all those issues. And so I would take a shot of kefir, and it would take away the craving within 15 minutes. Because instead of giving the food to the bad bacteria, I would give the power of probiotics to my gut to, really knock it out and clear out the yeast. And then since they're sour, the sour taste is an antidote to the sweet taste. So once you start getting your taste buds used to sour taste, you eventually lose a desire to eat sweet. Like when I go to the farmer's market, I'm a weirdo who's looking for the most sour fruits they have. I don't like sweet fruits anymore. I want the most sour apple or the most sour cherries, anything. And I have a hard time, so I end up coming back home with baby tomatoes that seem the most sour fruit they have. Tomatoes are fruits. So another major benefit is fermentation also helps with preservation of the food. So our ancestors didn't have fridge or coolers or freezers, but they did. They fermented. They fermented fish. They fermented meat. They fermented milk. They fermented vegetables and fruits, and they kept them in their cellar. An example of that would be a barrel of sauerkraut that they kept throughout the winter. They didn't have vegetables to eat throughout the winter because they couldn't go to a grocery store. So they used fermentation as a way to preserve food and eat nutrient-dense food throughout the winter season. That's another way. So if you have a lot of cabbage, if you have a garden, ferment the heck out of it. It will stay for 6 to 9 months. We actually kept our sauerkraut once for a year. And we ate it. It was delicious. We're still alive. Nothing happened to us. Because the good bacteria, it creates the acidity that no bad bacteria survives. Pickling is actually more dangerous than fermentation. People are scared to ferment. Pickling actually can cause a botulism, they call it. Like it's a overgrowth of this bad bacteria. Because the acidity of pickling, and there is no good bacteria in pickled foods. And in fermented foods, there are tons of good bacteria that actually protect and eat up the bad bacteria and do not let them cause any problems. Fermentation also breaks down nutrients into a more digestible form. So one of the examples would be soy protein. Vegetarians eat only fermented soy and only organic and only non-GMO, or you're in big trouble. So soy protein is really hard to digest, but when you consume non-GMO fermented soy protein, it's easier to digest because fermentation breaks down soy protein into amino acids that our body can absorb more easily. So an example would be natto. It's actual whole soybeans that are fermented. They don't look good. They smell nasty, but if you're vegetarian or vegan, you know, you might want to look into that. Another example, tamari has some soy protein in it. Miso is my favorite. I buy chickpea miso because I have to avoid soy as well. And then the one more, tempeh. Tempeh is also fermented. So safe, you know, tempeh. And then another example would be milk. Milk has lactose, which is milk sugar, and also casein, which is milk protein. A lot of people have a big problem digesting lactose and casein. So when you ferment milk into yogurt, which has to be fermented over 24 hours to completely remove all the lactose in it, what you do is you turn lactose into lactic acid, which is much easier to digest. So people who have lactose intolerance, which is the lack of lactase, which is an enzyme that, you know, digests the lactose, they can ferment the milk and still consume it and have no digestive issues from it. Or casein. Casein is really hard to digest, especially casein that's found in cow's milk nowadays in the United States, unless it is like from a special cow that has A2 casein. Most of the milk in the United States is A1 casein. It contains A1 casein, which is really hard for a human body to digest. That's why you're seeing a lot of dairy allergies around, because it got to the point that people cannot tolerate it anymore. I highly recommend switching to A2 casein, fermented, but if you enjoy the taste of raw grass-fed milk, which is A1 casein, and it is, you know, tolerable, then ferment it. Then make it into yogurt or kefir, which is, you know, fermented milk. And that will remove lactose and make casein more digestible. Fermentation also creates new nutrients in your body, like fermented foods. When you eat them, those bacteria are really smart. They detect what nutrients your body is lacking, and they actually start producing that nutrient if you're not getting it outside of your diet. An example of that would be vegans. They don't get B12 in their diet. So that if you eat fermented foods, those good bacteria start producing B12. So if you are, you know, concerned about your B12 deficiency, add fermented foods into your diet. Another example would be fermentation, as I already mentioned, increases the nutrient content of the foods that you are fermenting. An example of that would be when you ferment cabbage. Cabbage is really high in vitamin C. So when you ferment it, you multiply the amount of vitamin C in it by fermenting it. So let's say to get 50 grams of vitamin C, that's an example, you have to eat 2 cups of cabbage, right? And it can be hard for some people. But when you ferment it, you can get it from 2 tablespoons. So it's that, you know, so you can eat a smaller amount, but get the, you know, the nutrient-dense food. And then fermentation also neutralizes toxins in food. So grains, they have to be either soaked or fermented, otherwise they have toxins in them. Yeah, it sounds weird that, you know, food can have toxins, but they do. So one of them was the phytic acid that actually binds to minerals in your gut if you don't reduce or remove it from your grains by soaking them or fermenting them. And it can cause mineral deficiency because it binds the minerals in your intestines and washes them out of you. So, but when you ferment or soak your grains, like what I do with my quinoa, I will take a cup of quinoa, and I'll take a cup of warm water and a tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar, and I will ferment it for 24 hours. And then I will rinse it and then cook it the way you would cook rice or just other grain. And then that's how I consume it. Because that way I know that it's much easier for my body to digest, and what it does, it also reduces the starch content, because the good bacteria eat up the starches in the quinoa, so it becomes a nourishing food. And some people who cannot tolerate grains, quinoa is actually a grain like seeds. I follow Body Ecology diet, and she highly recommends eating grain like seeds. She they don't consider a quinoa as a grain. But it works for me, so I consume it in small amount. Like a serving would be half a cup of cooked grain. And it has to, the rest have to be vegetables, because if you eat grains in excess, it can become actually food for the bad bacteria as well, because the digestion can be compromised. This part, like the number 9, like the last one that I'm going to finish up the benefits of fermented foods with, is I think is the most, I don't know, like the good one, is that, yeah, I like this one a lot, like which like really shows the power of the good bacteria in the fermented foods, is that if you're concerned about eating mercury, how do you spell it? Yes, how do you pronounce mercury? Mercury in fish, like I always say go and buy wild fish, wild salmon, wild cod fish. But some of them can contain still heavy metals. So when you pair it with a small amount of, let's say, cultured vegetables, then the good bacteria in the cultured vegetable go and eat up the heavy metals. So the heavy metals don't stay in your body, they get carried away by these good bacteria, which are your friends. They're scavengers. All they want to do is go into your system, clean your system. So you might experience having more bowel movements once you introduce them. Don't be scared, it's your body detoxing, and these good bacteria really, they're breaking down the hardened fecal matter and removing it out of your gut, because most of us carry 10 to 15 pounds of fecal matter that have been,
Lovely.
yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So when people start losing weight very easily once they change their diet and start from, and I highly recommend colon hydrotherapy as well. I'm a big proponent, colonics or enema or whatever, because it really flushes out those toxins and the fecal matter that has been sitting in your body for like 30 years, and you feel you feel light, and people are scared of it, but I joke and I say my manicure money and pedicure money, which I don't get because I don't like putting chemicals on my body, go for colon hydrotherapy. That's what I say. That's my facial, because my skin, actually the health of your skin is right here. Once you start cleaning, I used to have huge pimples all over my face, like right here. They were painful, they were huge, they were ugly, and no matter what I did externally, it didn't help. Once I changed my diet, introduced colon hydrotherapy and fermented foods, they went away. They never come back anymore. And honestly, my skin looks better than it did when I was in my teenage years. Because once you internally cleanse your body, your external body starts cleansing as well. So this is just a brief introduction to the benefits of the fermented foods. I can talk about it all night. I know you have to go back home. So.
Well, now that we've heard all the benefits, I think we want to try them, right?
Yeah. Okay. Introduce them really quickly. This is coconut water. We buy coconuts from the strip district. They're Asian Thai coconuts. They're called young Thai coconuts. And we open them and we get the water out and we ferment the water. We introduce kefir cultures and we make them into this probiotic drink. Coconut water on its own has tons of sugar. So if people have, gut imbalance going on, I don't recommend drinking coconut water on its own because it feeds the bad bacteria. And the second one is Kogurt. It's coconut yogurt. It's made of, so the young coconuts have the water and the meat. So you get the meat out and then we make it into coconut milk and then we ferment it. And then this is cultured beets. They have beets, red cabbage, carrots, and garlic. This is kimchi. It's Korean fermented food. It has napa cabbage and garlic and ginger. You can read the ingredients. And this is just kraut, but it's a bit of Soviet way, because the kraut we make in Turkmenistan made with cabbage and carrots, but we added an American twist to it, and we make it with kale as well. So please feel free. We probably have to put it.
I forgot about a spoon. Oh, right, that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was thinking I'm just gonna kind of maybe we can do like little samples and we can pass them around, and we have a few minutes so we can do a little Q&A and we can do the smoothies. So, you guys have any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, please ask. I would like to touch this with you, like people who love pickled foods. If you like pickled foods, you can still pickle your food, but make it without white vinegar, without sugar, with raw apple cider vinegar. And that way, and don't pasteurize, eat it raw. For example, pickles, like you can make them lacto-fermented, which means just in brine with water and sea salt. This is coconut water. And coconut water and fermented and cold-brewed are great alternatives for probiotic dairy foods. Like if you cannot consume dairy and you would like to get the probiotics, these foods contain probiotics that you would normally get from dairy. So pickled foods. Pickled foods are pasteurized. They're made with white vinegar and sugar. White vinegar kills good bacteria in the food and in your gut. And also it feeds yeast. So
can you pickle with other vinegars, maybe like an apple cider vinegar,
raw,
and then if it doesn't have sugar?
Raw apple cider. So my mother-in-law makes pickled beets and eggs, and she knows I cannot consume regular vinegar and sugar, so she makes it with raw apple cider vinegar.
Okay, so that would be okay.
And it's as delicious, and it's as delicious, and it tastes the same. So you can use
raw apple cider vinegar. Is that the rashes and all that?
yes, yeah.
Jenneta, how do you feel about the sauerkraut that's sold in the stores? Do you think that it's just at the same level, or are they adding different things to it?
So if it is raw and unpasteurized, it is acceptable.
Okay.
You know, it's good to eat.
But are they allowed to sell raw unpasteurized?
Yes, you
Okay.
can buy it in the store. But if it is in packages that says like pasteurized, there's no use.
Got it.
Because all the good bacteria are destroyed by the pasteurization.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Absolutely doesn't make sense.
hi, Daddy. There it is. I like the cat.
So what, tortilla or
And then
yeah, now you're like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, yeah.
if you guys are familiar with Dr. Mercola,
Yes.
he also is very into fermenting, and he sent his fermented vegetable to a lab to check the probiotic count in it, and he found out that only 4 to 6 ounces of his fermented vegetables had 10 trillion cells of good bacteria.
Wow.
And which is like, it would be 2 ounces of that would be an equivalent of a bottle of probiotics that have 100 capsules.
Right, like think about the probiotics.
Yeah,
again,
2
like
ounces of
10
fermented
billion
vegetables
or something, yeah.
are nothing. You can just eat them with one meal.
And they're
Okay?
unique bacteria too. We haven't even probably discovered them
But
yet.
you
what's in
wouldn't be
fermented foods.
able to consume, you cannot take 100 capsules with one meal.
Right.
So you get more for your
Well, you
buck as
could.
well when you ferment your own food. And I left the handouts there that have a few recipes teaching how to make them.
Let's pass these out.
And,
And if we run out, those of you with cell phones, just take photos of them.
Yeah.
And I'll be posting this on the 634 page as well.
Who else
So-
did not get Coke here? Did you get
Oh, yeah.
Coke here? Yeah.
A little thing. And then the yogurt too. You guys wanted to try that?
I would love to.
I didn't put that on the plate.
No, it didn't taste like a coconut.
Oh, I thought you wanted it in cups, but then we were. Oh, I should have put it in. If you missed the Kroger, you can come up and get it. I should have just put it on the plate. Yeah. It's not good.
Something like a
Everyone can use this. Everybody. Because this is something
Oh, I
that
know.
nobody talks about
I love
in the
you.
regular.
What if we just eat these?
And it's a constant sickness maintenance cycle. You know, you eat bad food, then you take a pill, then you feel like junk, then you go to the hospital, then you go eat bad food, you take a pill, you go to the hospital. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's even like,
And then
with
with
the heart,
the
my
smoothie that's
family
coming
did
around
that.
as well.
Okay, here I am. You know, just,
my tropical
so
green gut healing
get
smoothie. I just kind of made it up yesterday. But it has a lot of different ingredients in it that are supportive of gut health as well. So you can grab this a little kind of recipe card too. It's kind of breaks down what I did. And of course there's greens in it. So kale and spinach are important. Collagen powder is amazing for healing the gut. It has a lot of different amino acids in it that are really effective for supporting gut healing. And pineapple in it as well actually has an enzyme called bromelain, which is really effective for helping to break down food and digest food better. So I added some pineapple in, kind of made it tropical. Ginger is a great anti-inflammatory, so I love ginger tea. But anytime I can throw like a chunk of ginger into a smoothie,
So good.
throw it in there. That's a really good one. I sweeten it with a little bit of stevia. You could use raw honey as well if you prefer that. I did coconut milk for a base along with some filtered water. Coconut milk is amazing for fat burning. It has something called medium chain triglycerides in it, a special type of fatty acid that is really amazing for fat burning. It doesn't get stored as fat, it gets more quickly converted into energy. So it's a great source of energy. It's great for brain function, helps the liver produce something called ketone bodies, which are really amazing for fat burning. So put a nice base of coconut milk in there. And then I did a little lemon juice for detox and cleansing. Turmeric powder, which is a really effective anti-inflammatory as well. You guys have probably heard a lot about the benefits of turmeric. You can get it in capsules, but I oftentimes just throw a scoop of turmeric into my smoothies too, along with cinnamon for to regulate blood sugar. And the last one is L-glutamine powder. And L-glutamine is an amino acid. It's very abundant in the body, but I like it in powder form to throw it into smoothies as well. It's very helpful for healing and kind of sealing an inflamed, leaky gut like we talked about, or any kind of inflammation of the gut lining. Glutamine powder is really effective for that. So you can get that in capsules, but I also often just like throw a scoop into smoothies as well. So if you like the smoothie, the recipe is there. So
Ooh, let's get a detail of this.
no caffeine. Nope, no caffeine at all. So you can have it at night. Well, it shouldn't keep you up. Nope.
Where do you get the collagen powder?
We have it at Revelation Health, and there's two different brands that I like, but the one I typically use in a lot of my smoothies, it's called Great Lakes brand. It's Great Lakes Gelatin Company. It comes in a big green can, and we have it at our store. And just throwing a scoop in the smoothies, I use it all the time. It's a very clean source of protein, loaded with amino acids and vitamins and minerals. Great for skin and joint support. Great for the gut. So yeah. Athletes use, all of us, can add in more collagen into our diet, because our ancestors used to consume collagen all the time. They used to eat, they didn't just eat the muscle meat. They ate the heart and the liver of the animal and the skin and, cartilage and all of those different parts of the animal that have so many amazing nutrients in them that now we just throw in the trash.
Oh, bone
and
broth,
just eat
hello.
and bone broth, hello, exactly. Those are natural sources of collagen, and
For your
gelatin.
skin.
Yes.
Awesome, yeah.
It's
Skin,
great for
gut,
your skin.
joints. Collagen and gelatin, we really need to be incorporating a lot more in our modern day diet, because we're eating so much muscle meat today. It's actually
it's
throwing things out of ratio.
Yeah.
And it's inflammatory if we're constantly just eating muscle meat and not eating other parts of the animal that keep us in balance.
Yeah, bone
So-
broth actually balances the inflammatory. If you eat too much muscle meat, it can become inflammatory. So, but if you incorporate bone broth with it, then it can balance it out. So you want to include the easy to digest protein, which is bone broth is.
Everybody get all the different fermented foods, and we have the smoothies. So everybody get some.
Did you guys talk about coffee and tea?
Help yourself. We didn't talk about coffee and tea and its effect on the gut. Oh.
Can we hit it real quick?
Or we can hit that real quick. We can hit that real quick. So.
Am I going to be disillusioned?
So.
Yes, it's okay. I can take it. Sorry.
No, it's like it's like anything, right? It can either, like, coffee can be a health food or it can be a poison to our body, depending on the quality that we drink and then the amount that's going to be right for us. So, I mean, number one, not everybody can tolerate. Oh, did everybody get some? Oh, Chad, get your fermented foods. So, I mean, number one, not everybody tolerates coffee really well. Like, I like coffee, but I don't have it that often. I actually prefer to, I drink matcha, green tea powder typically in the morning, which I didn't have any today. And I was thinking like, oh, all right, I don't know. I guess I was okay though. Didn't need the caffeine. So there's that. So if you know physically that coffee just doesn't sit well with your system, you may not be a good candidate as a coffee drinker. However, you may have been drinking crap coffee your whole life and not known how good you can feel on the right kind of coffee. So most coffee today is toxic because it's loaded with mold, something called mycotoxins, cover most coffee beans today. And it's not grown in the shade, most coffee, so it's grown like kind of under the hot sun, so that it tends to have a lot less antioxidants in it. So we want shade-grown coffee that's much more rich in antioxidants, and we want coffee that's mold-free, that's been tested. We want it to be, of course, be organic and chemical-free. Fair trade is nice to throw in as well. Support those farmers. And so we want all of those things to be in place for coffee to give us the right feeling. And then some people like their coffee black, but other people actually do better too if they add in a little healthy fat. It helps to stabilize their blood sugar. Some people actually get a blood sugar spike if they drink coffee where they go up and then they crash, right? How many of us have felt that? The coffee spike and then the energy crash? Well, especially for women, we can be a lot more sensitive to that. So I found adding in some healthy fat, like a medium chain triglyceride oil, like an MCT oil, or even a little coconut oil, or even some grass-fed butter, when you blend it into coffee, or bulletproof coffees, you guys have heard a lot about that. When you're putting those good fats into the coffee, you literally pour the coffee in your blender and put the fat in your blender and blend it. It turns into a delicious frothy latte. And I add collagen powder sometimes in as well to get a little bit of protein. I add in cinnamon to stabilize blood sugar, even like a little vanilla, a little sea salt for electrolytes. You can have this kind of mega amazing health drink in the morning and feel amazing till 2 or 3 o'clock because you have that good fat, so you're not even hungry. So that's an option for coffee, but it's definitely, it's all about the kind of coffee and knowing, if your body tolerates coffee well. Tea, I think, is great. I mean, and if it's, especially, herbal teas, there's so many different benefits. It's been drunk since the beginning of time, so just organic. And yeah, I think tea's great too. So what do you think? Coffee, tea? Any thoughts?
I do not consume coffee. It turns me into like a crazy woman. I cannot tolerate caffeine. I became really sensitive to it once I cut it out of my system. I gave up caffeine about maybe 8 years ago, and it took me 10 days to go through withdrawal, and I didn't like myself when I was going through it, and I made up my mind never go back to it. The only caffeine I will have is green tea, and it's not on a regular basis. Sometimes if I'm at somebody's house, I will have that. And I can function without caffeine quite normally, so I don't need that. And as long as tea goes, I am high, proponent of herbal teas. My favorites are roasted dandelion root tea, which is very liver cleansing and calming, and then chamomile tea right before bed. A cup of chamomile tea with a tablespoon of hydrolyzed collagen. It's very calming to your brain, it's very calming to your system. And then mint tea is a very great digestive aid. Gingerade tea is a great digestive aid. And I also like echinacea tea and elderberry tea. And my favorite is Traditional Medicinals, is a brand I mainly use. They have great tea. And when it comes to regular tea, I always say go with organic. If you want to have some caffeine, go with green tea, because it still has as much caffeine as black tea does, but it just doesn't have it has more antioxidants for you. But when it comes to coffee, it's very acidic. I don't drink coffee. The diet I follow is body ecology diet, is very big on keeping your body alkaline. And coffee makes your body acidic, so my coffee is either green smoothie or green drink that really, starts my body moving and waking up. And that's my main breakfast that I don't normally eat big breakfast. It's either green smoothie or green juice, something light. Yeah. Go ahead.
So how does this, so fermented food is also very acidic. How does that go with keeping the body alkaline?
I don't know. It's a magic. It's like one of the examples I would bring lemon. Lemon is an acidic fruit, but for some reason when you consume it, it actually has a very alkalining effect on your body. And the same goes for fermented foods. They're acidic. They're very acidic. We have to test every time when we make. Like we are required to test the acidity. And I was testing it yesterday with the beets, and it was really low. And I was like, wow. I was telling my husband, it's like the lowest it has been. And then when the weather is warmer, it ferments much faster. So for some reason, it has a very alkalining effect to your intestines. I don't know how it works. It's just nature's way of making your body work that way, I guess. Yeah.
While we're meddling, what about beer and wine?
They are considered wild fermented foods, and for people who are dealing with yeast overgrowth, they're no-nos because they both contain wild yeast in it, and your body is already fighting yeast. If your body is still fighting yeast, it can confuse the wild yeast in wine and beer and reactivate the immune system and go crazy again.
And the sugar too.
Yeah, and the sugar content of the beer. So if you enjoy beer and wine, and if you're a healthy person, I say go for unpasteurized, because you can buy unpasteurized beer and unpasteurized wine. And go for red wine because it again has more antioxidants in it.
Yeah.
And also moderation is the key. Not every day, in moderation. It's something that you view as a treat. It's not an everyday food. It doesn't do anything good to your body. It's for enjoyment, like it's more for celebration versus just using it as a coping mechanism to deal with the stress of your life. There are other ways of dealing with the stress of your life. Meditation is a great way. You just close yourself and breathe. That's what I did last night. Like I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I meditated for 10 minutes and I was back to sleep within 15 minutes. Meditation really restructures your brain and helps it to cope with the stress of life, in a natural way, instead of relying on a substance that is not good for your body. It's a temporary fix that you rely on a daily basis.
That can be applied to so many different things.
Oh yeah.
We're even told as a society we're not allowed to go through it. We have to avoid it. And so many different things, and especially with what these ladies are talking about, the regular sickness maintenance industry goes, well, let's just give a pill so you can avoid thinking about this that you need to deal with or that you need to deal with. And it's like, no, if you go through it, you're that much stronger.
Yeah.
And it doesn't wear you down.
Yeah, it is there to strengthen you and teach you when you're faced with the same situation, you know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But by drinking or by using something to numb it, you don't grow into a state where you can deal with it in the future.
Right.
So you just stay stagnant instead of moving along. And
exactly.
Like
you're like it's like the mouse on the wheel.
Cycle. Yeah.
And I love my wine. Okay, so I'm not saying that wine's bad, but when you start realizing that you're ignoring something in your life that keeps coming up over and over again, and there's so many different ways to do it. We become workaholics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We can, it doesn't have to just be about a drug or this and that. We get focused on like this OCD thing to avoid what
even good things.
that's coming up, that we could realize, like, if we just accepted it and we saw it, we could get so much higher. A challenge is not a bad thing.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to mention is that if you saw that there are cars, check out. I have a Facebook book that I run, and Meredith has her own Facebook page that she runs, and we share the tips that help us to continue on our path path to, our optimum health. And, if I find something interesting, I share it with my followers, because the whole point of us being out in public is to share our knowledge and help people stay on the path, because the society, the majority, is not, is not on the same path you are on. And so to stay on that path and to stay steady, you need the support. And nowadays it's mostly an online support, so I highly recommend joining groups that will support you throughout your journey to, regaining your health or optimizing your health, whatever your goal is. And also, after 5 years of experimenting in the kitchen, because my son had to be off of gluten, dairy, sugar, corn, soy, eggs for a while, peanuts, I had to create recipes that looked familiar to what other children were eating, but they wouldn't hurt him. So, eventually it turned into a cookbook that you can find on Amazon. It's called RX Cooking for Gut Health, basically prescribed cooking for gut health. So it's a very simple recipes, 100 recipes free of all major allergens. So if you know somebody who's struggling, I would highly recommend, to turn that person to the book, because when I was going through those struggles, I had to spend a lot of time and energy, and my brain function was not good then. So I would sit and look at the recipe that had all the things that we couldn't have, and I had to work through my brain foggy, brain clogged brain. And I would love people who are going through the same, just be spared from that work.
What was the name of that book? What was the name of the
It's
book?
called RX Cooking for Gut Health. If you go on the website, you'll see it. And
Can you share your Facebook and your website, both of
Yeah.
you, on that?
It's www.chriscriptionfoods.org. It's the website,
Okay.
and it's just the name of the company and org. And then the Facebook page is, again, Prescription Foods, and then the book is right on the website. And the name Prescription Foods came from that basically we believe that probiotics, like in capsule form and tablets form, are great, but when you consume them, they are dormant. When you buy them, they're sleeping. The good bacteria are asleep in your probiotics. And for them to wake up, you need to have, the right environment, the right temperature for them to wake up. So now, not all of them wake up. And then they have to go through the gastric juices, and not all of them survive. Not all of them make it to the intestines, where the most healing is needed. When it comes to fermented foods, the probiotic bacteria in them are alive, so they don't have to wake up. They are much stronger. They go through your stomach and they make it to the deep areas of your intestine, and they heal. And I'm not telling it to push my products, no way. I always tell people, go make your own, because that will be the most cost-effective way. I've seen the healing. We took probiotics and we ate the foods, and we've seen the healing that we have received.
And you have the recipes on your website and on Facebook. I've seen that.
I don't share recipes on Facebook or on the website, because I don't have a blog.
Got it.
But they're all in the recipe book.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And Meredith, can you share your website, your blog spot, and your Facebook?
Yeah. So revelationhealth.com is where you would get the collagen powder or the glutamine powder or any other products. I do private coaching as well. So I have my card there if you would want kind of some customized support. On Facebook, it's Meredith Dykstra Health Coaching is my page, and Revelation Health is the store page. And I'm on Instagram as well and Facebook. If you want to friend me or follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I do a lot of recipes and a lot of food posts. My Instagram handle is Health Coach Meredith. So you can follow me on Instagram, and just connect with us on social media for sure. There's a store coupon as well there if you want to come visit me at the store and get a discount. We'd love to see you there. And
And if you have any questions that will come up later on, please email us.
Yep, be in touch.
Always, happy to help and answer your questions. So don't hesitate to email
I have
us.
one last question.
Yeah.
All right, one more, Dan.
I get these plantain chips from Walmart. The only ingredient is sea salt. And I eat at least one bag a week because I'm addicted. Is that okay?
Plantains and sea salt. What
Yeah.
kind of oil are they fried in?
Oh, I don't know.
That's the key.
Just research the company and just research
Yeah.
what the ingredients are, you know.
But those
And if
ones
you
are
have
okay.
an adverse reaction to it, if you start feeling kind of weird
Or
afterwards,
maybe just don't eat them for a week.
How
see how you
much?
feel.
How much
Is that possible?
How much are
Yeah.
there? How much is there in a bag?
It's like that. I don't know.
Right.
Like 2 little bags of
So
chips.
from my experience, I've seen that if you don't have the right balance of good and bad bacteria, they can feed the bad bacteria.
pass it
What,
around.
Because-
plantains?
Yes,
one and
but
the
because they're higher in the starch.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend getting off of them for a while, just to give your system a break, and then introduce them, but
Cleansing period.
treat them as a treat. You know,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
you would enjoy on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You know.
See it as a treat.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a treat. I mean, I
Just
buy
like
it for
one.
my husband, and
I love plantain chips too, but
So good.
yeah,
Thank
not,
you.
not every day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You'll appreciate them more if it's a treat. So.
Yeah, and you know, like I leave certain things as a treat because I want to treat them as a treat. You will get more joy out of it
Right.
if you view it as a treat.
Thank you.
Kim, do you,
Well, I just want to say, I think everyone has learned so much so far. There's something special. There's 2 things that are coming up that's a surprise. But for right now, I just want to say thank you so much. I think all of us have come away with what Jenneta and Meredith have shared that, you know, we don't hear in the regular health industry. We don't hear that. And, you know, right now what I'm passing around, art does connect sometimes with health and connects with all kinds of really great things. And for me, I went through a very similar thing in my own health that they've experienced. And I had to personally go through that same journey of learning about food and what to avoid, what to take in. And there's been times that my art expresses that. And not only with the food or with your health, but with all kinds of different things. Our world is, and our society is constantly telling us to say yes to things that don't necessarily really create life and abundance and joy and health in our own worlds. But they profit from it, correct?
It's all profit
Yep.
driven.
Now,
Sad.
the beautiful thing is that if we really connect with our God consciousness, we start listening to our gut, literally, when we start asking what's really wrong, we listen to it. And when something's telling you, yes, go to this, people might make you think that you're crazy. It doesn't matter. If you know in your heart that this is the right thing for you, it may not be right for your neighbor down the street and everyone who wants to get into group thinks and say you're a label here, you're a label there. No, you don't worry about that. You listen to your own gut, and that is what I'm passing around right now. It's called the yes ball. And weirdly enough, it came about by me putting a yes on my door in Los Angeles. I was always terrified as an artist to be in Los Angeles and have 0 job. I had nothing. But I had this space. I was given a lease because luckily in the past I had good credit. And I didn't have a regular job when I moved into this space, but I had a vision. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to believe that whatever comes in, the first floor was going to be an event space like this, and I lived upstairs. And I thought, what could be better to bring in the really good juju and walk in faith? And there's no copycat path for this. I'm just going to write yes on the front door. And anyone who is into that vibe of what I'm talking about, I'm going to accept them, and we're going to see what amazing things happen. You guys, amazing things happened. And I met some of the most amazing people, and here we are right now in 2017 experiencing the same kind of formula that was done there. So it's all about yes. And so if you can take that away tonight and hold on to your yes ball, and remember, it doesn't matter if people understand your own journey or what your gut's telling you to do. Just do it. It's pretty great. The surprise twist that we have tonight, last week sometimes I set up in the park just on random nights to meet people just like yourselves, and I met Peter the other night, and I invited him to the space, and he texted me the other day. He said, you know, I just checked out your space, I checked out the event that you're doing tonight, and I think I have something to add to it. Now, for me, not only have I learned about food, how important it is for food, but I've also learned how important it is what you put on your skin. There are so many toxins that are sold to us through Dow chemicals, all kinds of different things that we put on thinking, oh, this is great. Fantastic lotion. I got my body wash. I'm ready to go. Bath and Body Works. I'm ready. Ooh, I'm looking good. It's good. And you know what? It couldn't be further from the truth. All of a sudden, it's alcohol-based. You're aging. Your skin is wrinkly, and you don't understand why. You're drinking a ton of water, but you're seeing an adverse effect. Well, tonight, Peter came in, and he said, this is what I do. This is what I make. And I'm very grateful. Peter's going to come up here, and he's going to share with us all kinds of different recipes that we can take away with us tonight. If you're interested, take the recipe and find out all kinds of deodorants, bath salts, all kinds of different things you can do in your own grocery kitchen, closet, what is it? I live in the ethereal world, so I'm not always in the kitchen all the time, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's there. And we're going to take it to a whole other level for the next 10 minutes and learn about that as well. So,
Awesome.
here we go.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for the yes balls.
Okay, Kim kind of touched on basically why I started doing this. You know, I only 3 ingredients was in the food I was eating, so I went to reading the ingredients on what I'm putting on my body, or like, you know, body wash, toothpaste. And I started buying, you know, more expensive stuff, but even then, at that point, when you look at the ingredients, I'm like, all right, I really can't pronounce these things on the label. And I took advanced chemistry, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe I shouldn't put this on my body. Or maybe, you know, maybe I shouldn't, or especially like toothpaste, obviously fluoride's not good for you, even though everyone claims it is, you know, it's a neurotoxin. So, yeah, no fluoride. And, you know, it's very hard to find any toothpaste without fluoride. And then even when you do, you still read the ingredients and go, should I really put this in my mouth? So then, I started looking into making, you know, natural products for that, and I came across an article talking about in ancient Egypt they used baking soda, and they mixed it with vodka, and they made like a paste with it. Then I went on to elaborate. You can add other stuff to it. So then I went on and added a whole list of stuff, more natural products.
Vodka.
And so mainly what I came up with, so then I started making not only body wash, but deodorant and toothpaste as well. And basically you can make all with the same ingredients: baking soda, coconut oil, and other things I use cornstarch just to keep it a little more together. So yeah, they're passing. I think they're passing around now.
Yeah.
Just the ingredients for the body wash, which I have. Yeah, I'm just going to send around the sample. Yeah.
It smells like the peppermint.
Yeah. That one. Yeah, that one. So that's the body wash coming around. One is. Yeah, that has lavender essential oil, and this one has eucalyptus essential oil. And what's nice is also most products that you buy at the store, when you use them to wash yourself, it strips all the natural oils off your body. So then your body wants to produce more. And in a day or two, you're feeling dirty again. You feel maybe slimy, or if it's hot out, you feel all sticky. Where after I started using this product, that doesn't happen anymore. Where I don't feel that sticky feeling, except because my body's not producing extra oil, and especially like my hair I always had a problem with very oily hair. After a day, I have to wash it every day, and it was all sticky. Now that doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, it's definitely a better way to go about it. And again, everything's very inexpensive as far as ingredients, and it's easy to make. So I thought I'd share it tonight, since the ladies have done the presentation about doing internal health. Figure let's throw some external health on as well, because it all at the end of the day it all matters. If you're just trying to keep clean inside, you're still putting all these chemicals over your body. You're still basically not really getting out the toxicity. It's just repeating itself.
Well, a lot of these expensive products, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in like the corporate world a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I spent the money on sorry, Mr. Perricone, Dr. Perricone. I mean, we're talking like top dollar stuff, and I thought it was amazing, and I saw results for a while, and I was in my early 20s. But then I started noticing how toxic. Like the last couple years, I don't know what they were doing, but they've really tweaked the recipe, and it's just like, it just messes up your skin. And something told me a while back, there's stuff in your kitchen that you don't have to spend tons and tons of money on. And I learned a real quick facial that I've done for years, and I'm not young, I'm not in my 20s, guys. I'm 41, I'll tell you that right now. I don't look it, but I'll tell you straight up, there are things in your kitchen that can keep you fresh and young. And at the end of the day, it comes mentally. But a really great facial that I learned was taking lemon juice, squeeze it up, put it on your face, let it soak in. Okay. Then you take brown sugar, you scrub it off, and you take organic soy, or you can do oatmeal, whatever you want, and you put it in there. That's $10. That's just one example. I mean, Peter has plenty of different alternatives, but what I'm saying is even this simple facial that I learned back in 2000 that I did regularly has done more to kind of keep me balanced with my skin and whatnot. And I'm tough on myself. I mean, like, trust me, I'm not sitting there saying that I don't put stuff in my system. I've smoked, I drink, I'm a rock and roller, like, it happens. I am. I mean, if those of you that know me, you know what I'm, so I'm not trying to hide anything, but the point is, it's like there's a certain balance, and there's a beautiful way to balance that out without having to spend hundreds of dollars, be in debt, and be stuck in this. And it's really, yeah. And so... And I'm sure all of us have different stories and different experience in this journey, So, does anybody else have any questions for everybody, or it's like,
Also, if anybody wants the instructions for toothpaste or deodorant, I have them as well. So I can pass them around. It's all the same basic stuff. Just baking soda and coconut oil.
So all the recipes that Peter's passing out, take them, find Meredith, find Jenneta on Facebook. They've got amazing, also, especially Meredith, she has this amazing blog spot that it's like free recipes. I mean, you don't have to buy the book. It's right there. You're so generous with so much information. It's all right there. And as far as 634 goes here, we're going to be having at least 3 events before the end of the season here. So please find us on Facebook. Come back. Come hang out. September 15th is the next one. We've got a really great band called The Petals that is from Highland Park. Holla!
Cool. What kind of music?
They're amazing indie rock. Death Cab for Cutie meets like Highland Park. That's all I can think of. They're really sweet and they're really good. And it's funny because I normally have bands that are my friends that are from out of town, and I happened to just run into them at the Garfield, Art Walk last month, and I was like, who are these people? And I had to talk to them afterwards. I said, you guys got to come over and play.
Cool.
They're great.
Awesome.
And then October 7th, a really great band out of Baltimore. But the lead singer is cousins with Andy Warhol, so there is a Pittsburgh connection. Cool. They played here last year. They're called Underlined Passages, and they're fantastic. They're going to be playing, they're coming back. Their second album is released. Last year was their first album release. They're doing the 2017 tour here. They're kind of come through. And the latest, I guess I can say, are we running out of battery?
Yeah, we're pretty low.
Okay, I'm gonna drop this last announcement because I haven't even put this on the. You guys are the first to learn about this because I just found this out, confirmed it today. But towards the end of October, we've got a really great artist. His name is Stephen Shellen. He used to be a film actor. He was in A River Runs Through It with Brad Pitt. If you see his face, you're gonna know exactly who he is. He has become an activist. He's become an artist. We recently connected, and him and his friend Steve, who does interactive installations with skateboard art. You can literally skate off of it. It's all going to happen here at the end of October. So please find us on Facebook and come and spend time here. And we're all going to be here. So you know who the crowd is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.